of starting conversations that ends conversation.
Why is your wife divorcing you?
Got a way of starting conversations that ends conversation. Funny?
Hello and welcome to Tina and Karen Do the Tube. I am Karen, and we do not have Tina tonight because we have a very special guest. I will be interviewing and talking with an old friend of mine. In fact, it was the first time I got into broadcasting. I was doing a sportscast of our local high school basketball team, and the first person I did it with was a good friend of mine named Alex Benzegala. So, Alex, thank you for being on my show.
Oh, it's great to be on, and man, I remembered that like it happened yesterday.
I know, you told me that. You told me that like you have pretty impressive memory. Like you remember every game that we used to broadcast together vividly, right?
Oh, absolutely. The first one, Peninsula versus Clohoya.
I actually do remember Clohoya because it was the first, but the rest of the games sort of blend together. I remember more tidbits and moments as much as not the whole games or what happens when. But remarkably enough, one of the things that sticks out to me the most is when the Walrus used to listen in. Walrus was our station manager at KGHP, and he used to listen into our sportscasts, and he's not interested in sports in the least bit, but he was interested in us, you and me.
Well, I think the one thing we had, and I know I still have this, and I know you probably still have this too with sports as well, is just passion. You know, like we were terrible, Jeff, but we had a lot of passion.
Oh, no, yeah, I totally agree. Like, it'd be great to go back and listen to some of those clips.
I still have them. I still have them.
You do? Well, you should
do.
send me some because I would love to, like, react to them on the air. That'd be
They're
amazing.
awful. I try to put them away. They're like pushed far, far behind in my closet. You know, once in a while I'll listen, and then it's like, oh man, I used to suck, and I'm pretty good now. So,
Do you ever listen to it to sort of, is it a nostalgic thing you listen to it for, or do you listen to it for more constructive reasons?
no, it's just kind of fun. You know, I've got my senior year fishbowl game, and that's special. And like I listen to that, and I'm like, wow, my voice sounds so different. You know, and I enjoy that one too because that's a Peninsula win. As a senior, I stormed the field. Remember?
Wait, from the radio, from the studio.
No, yeah. So it was 38-7, a touchdown at the end of the game, and then I just stormed the field, and it was super, super fun. And a special game, too, because if you remember, the Tides had Austin Safarian Jenkins on the other side, and he's a tight end who's played in the NFL, and he's trying to find his way back. So, like, it's, you know, I think one thing as a broadcaster that's really cool is that, like, you get to broadcast games, and then you can say, hey, I broadcasted, hey, Austin Safarian Jenkins, or other players who played in college or the pros. It's really fun.
No, definitely, I agree. So in college, I did do a little broadcasting. I didn't get to call a lot of the men's basketball games. I did mostly the women's basketball games because the men's team had their own crew that they used regularly. But I filled in for like one or two men's games. And I remember, like, I'll be able to go back and tell everyone that, like, yeah, I used to call some of the games that Klay Thompson was playing at WSU before he became this big name out of Golden State. But I still even remember going back to high school when we had to play Rainier Beach. You had like three guys on that Rainier Beach team who all played in Division I. And
Mike Ladd, Reggie Moore, and
yeah, I always forget the third one too. But what was it?
Aaron Brooks.
Yeah. Okay. But like Mike Ladd and Reggie Moore both went to WSU. So when I called them, I was amazed by just the fact that like I was calling against these guys a couple years ago. Now I'm calling for them. So that was kind of an interesting experience for me.
First off, if you're going to bring up that game, you've got to bring up the fact that you and I broadcasted a game at the Key Arena. Okay, you've got to bring that up.
No, that's I don't know about you, but that's like among top 5, if not top 3 moments of my life. So I agree. That's something that was that's you and I will both be able to look back on forever. Because
the only thing about that game, so I remember that entire day, you know, and one thing I do want to remind you is that the first game we went to was actually Lakes. And if you remember Lakes, Jermaine Curse was starting in that game. And like you probably don't remember watching Jermaine Curse, but that's also one of my favorite moments is that Lakes had a big game first round against a Meadowdale team who had a huge crowd. And Lakes shut them up, and they had huge stars, Jermaine Curse and Cavario Middleton on that team. So that was just a fun experience. And I just want to say, in that experience, I remember you and I walking into a tunnel, and I remember looking up at and seeing a jumbotron just so big, and then huge crowd sizes. I was like, man, I really hope I do this for the rest of my life. Really, that's where it all started for me. I mean, that's when I realized I want to be a professional sportscaster.
Yeah, that's pretty incredible. Do you remember how the game went, though?
The Rainier Beach one?
Yes.
Yeah. So Peninsula hung in there.
No, we didn't.
Wait. Down 16 at the half. You can say that.
Down 16 at the half is we're hanging in there. Okay. I'll grant it that 16 is not an insurmountable amount to come back from. But it was always shifting in one direction. I mean, we were starting to play guys that we never played just so the guys get the chance to play out there on the Key Arena. It was very obvious that they knew that they were going to be one and done.
Yeah, but I think what happened in that game was, I had hope, but then Rainier Beach started press the entire game, and they forced a lot of steals, and then in transition, Reggie Moore throwing it down, then they're going slide, throwing it down.
It was an incredibly talented team. We just couldn't compete. I think one thing I do remember most about that season is that it wasn't a standout season for Peninsula. We barely made it into the playoffs. We barely made it into the regionals. Because I think we only were one or two games above 500 that season. It was the previous season, actually, that was the standout season where you thought they were going to do something.
That's a great point. So my freshman year was the year Peninsula was stacked with seniors. Scott Cashman. You had all these seniors. They were basically an all-senior team. They had a very good year, but then, I don't know if you remember this, but our last game we called my freshman year, Peninsula had a 14-point lead, and then Mount Rainier started hitting threes. This kid named Justin Champion, I always remember it, because in the left corner, he just kept hitting everything. And it was a 14-point lead. Peninsula erased. Peninsula down 4. Cashman ends his career hitting a 3 at the buzzer to lose by 1. I'll never forget just guys like Dan Wickens, just fans everywhere from Peninsula just crying. And made me think, man, this actually meant a lot for these guys. And then so the next year they bring back all these guys they got a new head coach in Coach Yowzy, and then they're all JV guys. Start the season 2-8, and then they go on a big run. Playoffs, they barely survived Clover Park, and then the Mount Rainier game was super, super special, even though we went off the air, I think, because there was a misconnection. But that was one of the most special games we ever called, too, the Mount Rainier game to win state, or to make it to state.
That is amazing that you can remember all of that, especially the names. I mean, I'm terrible with names, especially in this regard. But I do remember, for that season where they actually did go to state, they only think it had 2, maybe 3 seniors on the entire roster. It was because you're right. The previous year was the whole team was stacked with seniors, and then you had I think Jake Hobein and Lance Walwork. They were the only 2 seniors, I believe, on the team. The rest were just a bunch of talented juniors, like Alex Winter and Alex Winter, probably the only name that comes to mind. You probably don't remember all of them, but
yes,
was it Dan Wickens? Dan Wickens was on the team.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But I got a point that I want to make. So after they won the league, their first game was against Renton in a winner-to-state game. And I want to remind you that Jet Moore got sick right before the game. And, you had, was it strep throat or something terrible? You couldn't talk, Jet. So I had to call the game by myself, this little sophomore with a speech impediment. I was like, where's Jet? No, I can't do it.
Well, you regard that I gave you a chance to prove yourself, really. And you have.
I went on the bus, and you know what? For a sophomore, I actually did pretty good, I think. It was a fun game. I remember Peninsula almost upset Renton because it was a top 10 team in Renton, and so that was really interesting because that was my first really experience alone broadcasting a game, setting it up on a road game. It Yeah, so it was super fun. So I thank you for your strep throat or whatever. It gave me an opportunity.
All right, right on. You know, it's kind of funny. Like, we just been spending these first 10 minutes of this show reminiscing about old times, and we had this whole laundry list of questions we wanted to get through. And we haven't even done introductions yet, really. Like, for my listeners, my 5 listeners that I have, hopefully growing after I can get, like, some little more exposure in North Dakota, why don't you take a little bit of time to just, tell a little bit about yourself? Like, so you started in Peninsula. We've established that. In high school with me doing sports broadcasting. But, where'd you go from there? I mean, saw you went to Concordia College, right?
Yep. So I went there in Moorhead, Minnesota. But first, we probably should have started out with this. I am a professional sports broadcaster. I'm the sports director at AM 1100 The Flag in Fargo, North Dakota. So probably should have started out with that, Jeff. But
yeah, that explains the North Dakota reference I'm saying. I'm hopefully getting a lot of North Dakota listeners after this show.
Well, absolutely. So again, I that's where I'm at. But how I got here is a crazy story, and I can't explain it just in a short explanation. But what I'll do is, I grew up in Gig Harbor. Went to school in Moorhead, Minnesota at Concordia, which, by the way, Moorhead is right next to Fargo. It's like a block over. So, like, they're basically the same place. So I went to school in Moorhead, and then after I graduated, honestly, I was lost. I went from job, moved to Oklahoma City, Kansas City, moved back, moved to South Dakota, moved to all these different places, moved to Iowa, and I somehow ended up back here as a professional sports director at AM 1100 The Flag. So it really is a crazy story.
That's incredible. So you went to Oklahoma City and Kansas City. So when you were on that, so that was after college, right?
Yeah.
So were you out there looking for your first chance, or what was going through your mind, or what were you trying to accomplish out in Oklahoma City?
Well, first off, how do I get to Oklahoma City? First of all,
I assume you drove.
First of all, I'm actually going to start out with a story. I can't explain that without explaining something else. So when something I experienced when I was in college is that, I loved Concordia College. It's a great school, but it's not a broadcast school, Jet. I mean, like, people who, it's not it's not a Syracuse. It's not a Penn State or a USC, where guys go to be broadcasters, or even Washington State. I mean, so many guys go to Wazoo, which, by the way, I wanted to, but it didn't work out. Because my dream was to go to Washington State and be a broadcaster that way. But because, I talked to my family and they're like, a small school is probably better. And so I went to Concordia College, got a degree in communications. But honestly, Jet, I focused a lot on track my senior year. I had a lot of broadcasting experiences that did not work out in college. For example, I did a lot of hockey. I'm not a hockey guy, but I got this hockey experience and short story, like, I got fired. And, like, that really hurt my confidence. So I really focused on track instead. And I was like, I put my heart and soul as a track and field athlete.
Yeah, I just want to stop you right there. So, maybe you got fired. So, what was the reasoning?
Oh, I was terrible.
Oh, yeah?
That's
was
not
it just
true.
was it the fact that you weren't familiar with the sport, or is it just more was it the stutter? For those who haven't noticed, Benzegala has a stutter, which is actually the whole school newspaper back in high school wrote about that. Wasn't that true?
The whole school newspaper.
The newspaper wrote a story about you and your dream of being a broadcaster with a stutter. Didn't they write a newspaper article about that? I can't remember.
Maybe you've read, like, there have been. I don't remember it starting in high school.
Oh, okay.
But
it is a kind of a. It's an amazing kind of a story if you think about it that way. I mean, it's one of the few sort of disabilities or impediments that could, like, stop someone from being a public speaker for a living, and yet you are, living testament that people can overcome that.
Yeah, I totally agree with you. It's so hard, though. So, like, first off, where do I even start? So,
I didn't mean to throw you off.
Stutter, it's a huge challenge, and to be honest with you, like, one thing that I've always done is that, like, I try to do difficult things. So, like, I did freshman and sophomore year at Concordia. I was the voice of Concordia men's and women's hockey, and it's a challenge. Growing up in Gig Harbor, I wasn't super into hockey.
No,
like
it's not a
I
West
just wasn't.
Coast thing. It's just
So like I moved to Moorhead, Minnesota, and Moorhead's a hockey town. I mean, so I started Concordia Hockey, and for some reason, I was like, let's see if I can make something special happen. So there's a United States Hockey League team, USHL, biggest junior league hockey, junior hockey league in the country. It's one of the best like in the world, actually. So like Fargo has a team. I talked to them, and I was like, hey, I've done Concordia Hockey. I got an interview, so I got that. And so I did a couple of games. I traveled with them, but I just made too many mistakes, Jet. I interviewed a future professional NHL player, and I made a mistake. And like, so there's that.
well, what was that mistake?
Honestly, I said that I by accident said like that he won a state championship his senior year. I regret this. Dominic Toninato, he's in the league somewhere, but like I said, like at East that he won a state championship, that he won a section championship. I thought I read somewhere that he won a state champ. It's one of those mistakes that like it's not that it just makes you look bad. And I'm a junior in college, and so I still go with the team. I broadcast the 2 games. And the truth is, like, I wasn't like, I wasn't ready then, And
no, I mean, you probably had to take the same class that I did. I don't know what Concordia's curriculum would be like, but back when I was in communications for WSU, everyone kept talking about this class, Com 295, which was broadcast journalism writing. And it was a class that like you had to write a paper pretty much every day, an article every day. And the thing was, you had to use a special kind of computer that didn't have any sort of grammar check or spell check or anything like that. And if they found one error, one spelling error, one grammar error, or one factual error, especially the factual errors, then you failed the paper. And that's just notched against your overall grade. So it was a class that made us sort of ingrain in us to double check, triple check, quadruple check all of our facts and reread our article to make sure everything is ready to be published, ready to be read, so that people can get the objective story.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. So again, I broadcasted these games and I traveled. So I was basically the travel voice. I traveled with the Fargo Force, and great experience, man. Went to Cedar Rapids, Iowa. Went to Dubuque, Iowa, and it's super high level of broadcasting, and so it was a neat experience for me because I was able to see, okay, this is what it's like. Did
you pick up a love for hockey at all? I'm just curious because, like, for me personally, I love the sport, watching it on TV, but I don't know enough about it. I couldn't tell you the top players in the league or I know who won the Stanley Cup last year, but that's I'm not an avid fan, like probably like you, or did you develop a love for the sport?
Oh, I absolutely do. Now, am I confident broadcasting it like I broadcast basketball or football? Absolutely not.
Okay.
Because
so
again,
you're still working on that.
Yeah. So, but anyway, so Fargo Force, came back. We got back at 5 a.m. Got a taxi back from Fargo to Moorhead, and then Tuesday, Wednesday, like I went to. It was like a press conference, or no, it was a weekly. It was a coach's show, and I was already fired, but I didn't know it, So the coach looked at me kind of funny, and I was like, "Oh, what's going on?" And I get a call, and
oh no,
it's like I'm fired, and I was like, "Oh," and it just hurt so bad, It hurt so bad, and
wait, so everyone else knew before you?
Maybe I didn't pick up maybe I didn't see a text or
a text.
I don't know. Like so like here's the thing. Like I wasn't very good. Like I'm not blaming them or anything.
No, I'm not saying that. But like, do you think that like if someone were to fire you, that they should take you into their office and explain to you why, and then like fire you in person? Like, This idea that you didn't you didn't read the text or something, don't you think that's a little absurd?
Here's the thing. This was 2012, so 7 years ago.
It's a
Okay,
long time ago.
this is
Is it?
long in the past. But I just remember I was having a conversation with my supervisor, and she's like, like sorry, it's just not gonna work out. So I was hurt. I hung up my phone, and here's the thing that was hard about it. I didn't have a car in college, right? I didn't even know how to drive, all right? So I biked, I think 5 miles, maybe like 5-7 miles, something like that in the rain, okay?
In Fargo.
So, yeah. But this is like October. It's mid-October. So like I'm crying, just crying my heart out, and I'm just riding my bike, tears flowing for about an hour, I think. I don't know how long, maybe it was a half-hour bike ride. I went home and I went on Facebook and I did I still remember I put a Tupac quote. I put a Tupac quote about just how you can have bad days and like you just gotta move on, And so it was one of those things like that destroyed my confidence, because then my thought was like, well, maybe was I stuttering too much? And I know for a fact I stuttered a lot that first game. So maybe that was it, or maybe maybe I'm just a bad broadcaster. So you can imagine my confidence just going super down after that, and it took a long time. I mean, I remember thinking like maybe this isn't for me,
So-
maybe I've got to find something else.
Okay, so at this point in your life, you've been given your first big hurdle that you were not able to jump over necessarily. But about the stutter, going back to that just really quick, is there anything you've done since then? Is there like vocal exercises that you do, or do you talk to a vocal coach or anything like that helps you with the stuttering?
I think that's a good question. Well, first off, I do think my stuttering has just naturally gone better. Like I don't that my speech has improved a lot since even high school, or as an elementary school student, at stuttering. I do think it has improved. I've seen speech therapists, but I can't lie and say, oh, like that has cured it or that has stopped me from stuttering. It doesn't. I mean, I think I know certain techniques that can help, but you know what? I'm a person who stutters, and sometimes it stinks. Sometimes I wake up and I wish I could just not be a person who stutters. But at the same time, I also have a unique story that very few broadcasters have.
No,
and
you own it.
I haven't found any other play-by-play guys who stutter. Like,
Well, it could be a huge thing.
Yeah.
I mean, okay, so have you ever there's this, America's Got Talent. Have you ever seen this guy, Drew Lynch?
I mean, I've seen some like YouTube videos of people who stutter, and like, is he a comedian?
Yeah, there's this comedian out there who he has a stuttering, and it's way worse than yours even. Like, but he's managed to find extreme success in a speaking profession, and it's mostly because he embraces it. He doesn't shy away from it. I mean, it's totally just like what he makes. He makes a lot of jokes at the expense of the fact that he does stutter. But like, that's the thing, is like you can't like ever shy away from it. Just sort of embrace it, right?
Oh, absolutely. Well, it's not really that. I don't really necessarily embrace it, to be honest. I mean, I'm a person who stutters. Like it's just a part of me right now. So, But the truth is, my passion for broadcasting is way bigger than stuttering. It's way and like if you look, I mean, we're only beginning, man. We're still in the college part of the story.
Oh yeah. All right. Okay, so let's go back to the story then. So you got fired from your first real broadcasting job, broadcasting junior league hockey, and you're biking home. You posted a Tupac quote. What happens next? Where do you go from there?
You know what? I focus on school. And then I really focus on track, because again, I was still a part of the track team. So
oh yeah, I want to mention this just so you know, everyone, my listeners know, Alex is one of the fastest guys I've ever met.
Yeah, I don't know if you ever watched me in high school. Did you?
No, I didn't go to your track meets, but we played on the same basketball team. So before we were broadcasters together, we actually played on a not at the schools league, but an off-league basketball team. And I remember neither one of us were the best player on the team, but the thing about you was you were special in this regard. You were the fastest player on the court. So, and I was aggressive in rebounding. So that was sort of like each one of our specialties. So half the time, I think your best games were when I rebounded the ball and then just launched it down the court, assuming that you'd be the first one to get to it, and then you do an easy layup.
Yeah, again, I had no skill. I've never had any skill.
But it's not about coordination when you have that kind of speed.
Yeah, absolutely. I would literally sit like around the 3-point line, and I would watch the ball like float the other way, and I'm like, okay, just start sprinting.
No, and it worked. I think you had some of your best games on the games where I had the most rebounds. It kind of worked out that way.
No, absolutely. And like, here's the thing: like, I ran track for 11 years, and it's a special sport. So I went to in college. I was like, I think I'll do this, but my first two, it took me a while to warm up to it because I was like, you know what, maybe like maybe I don't want to do this, in college, and I did, and I got super intense about it, and my senior year was special. I don't know how much you or your listeners know about track, but my goal was to run a 49-second 400, and I entering my college experience, I was a 52-second 400 runner, and my senior year, I got super I poured my heart and soul into track, I didn't even care about broadcasting really. I was like, you know what? If I become a broadcaster, that's gonna come down the road. Like, you focus completely on track in school, and like in a way it worked because I had such a special year and such a magical year. I'm in the front page of the Fargo Forum, or the sports section of the Fargo Forum. Just a magical experience. But then I got out and I was like, I put everything into this. Now what do I do? And that's where challenges come, Jet.
Well, okay, we're going to get into that in a second. I just want to talk a second about the track. Because a lot of people... Okay, so you talked about your 400 time was what?
49.59.
Yeah, okay, fuck the metric system. Okay, so no one, if I have an American listener and they don't follow track, they're not going to know what that is. Have you ever clocked a 40? Have you ever done that before? Just for experimenting?
I feel like if you run the 40, it's like something you do for football.
I know it's for football. That's kind of why I bring it up, because like I don't think, unless you're a big avid track fan, not a lot of people are going to know how special a 49-400 is. So
I can kind of explain it a little bit.
Would you?
A 49-second 400 is something a lot of high schoolers dream of, and some get it, some don't. Like,
okay,
a 49-second 400 could get you first estate, or like
really,
it could get you maybe second, or it depends. It depends where you're running. Like, if you're running in Texas, 49 seconds not going to do anything.
Of course, right. But I mean, for a lot of
like,
states' perspectives, 49 would be something in the top 3 in the state.
It's like if you tell any track person anywhere, like, yeah, I ran a 49, and they're like, oh, you're pretty good at some level. Like,
right.
It just.
It would be interesting. Are you still in as good a shape as you were when you were doing track? You think?
No,
not at all. I mean, some people keep it up.
No.
Oh, I had a couple pizza slices today, so I'm
been like
right there
4
with
years,
you.
but I still try to stay active.
Right.
I try to play soccer as often as I can. But this life happens. Like, I'm a married man, you're engaged. Things happen, man. Like,
I'd be in a lot better shape if I didn't have a job and didn't have a fiance and didn't have a house. Because then I just, what else is there? I'd focus on just exercising and getting a job and getting a girlfriend and getting a place to live.
Yeah, but anyways, like, track meant so much to me, and like, because like I made it a goal to run a 49-second 400 because I knew it was hard. I think in 7th grade I ran a 103, and then 8th grade I ran a 101, and then my best friend passed away, Sam Stewart, in 8th grade, and I remember like thinking like, you know what, one day I'm gonna run a 49-second 400. This is when I just ran a 101, and if sprinting, like 11 seconds is astronomical. It's so much.
Right.
And to be honest, I didn't think I would. I got injuries in college. I didn't work very hard freshman, sophomore year, even though I was still pretty good. Junior year, didn't make it. Senior year was the last shot, and I put myself in great shape. And actually, when I last saw you, like I believe it was August of 2013. I was in super good shape last time I saw you on my 21st birthday run. But
That might have been the last time I was in shape. Yeah. I mean, it's true. I mean, I put on a lot of weight, but I mean, I keep trying new things to help me. Really, it's just a matter of like just trying to find some sort of schedule, a firm schedule, and commit to it. Because you already mentioned this, life gets in the way. If I had a regular time I went to the gym, if I had a regular time a week where I could do some meal prep, if I did all this like right, but the problem is you miss that one like narrow window, or you make an excuse, and then that's it. It falls apart. Oh, you make one excuse, you make two excuses, and then you make three, and then it's just a shit week. Oh, I'll start next week.
and I think for me, athlete, my senior year, I was so darn focused.
Yeah,
that,
focus.
like it wasn't a problem. It was like, no, I'm gonna eat spinach every day. I'm not gonna drink pop. Nah, as much as I love pizza and burgers, like my senior year, I didn't do that.
Well, those two.
I mean,
All those three things, I'd say I agree. I mean, I eat spinach every day, and I gave up soda. Haven't given up beer yet. That's a harder thing to overcome. But then, yeah, they're just sticking to the exercise plan and sticking to a diet. Yeah, bread is a hard thing to give up. It's almost everywhere, pasta and bread. But
no, absolutely. But yeah, but
okay, but you were in great shape at that point.
Yeah, and if you see me now, I still look like I've always, you know this about me, I've always been kind of a skinny guy.
Well, yeah, but it's like part of your frame, but you were always like an athletic skinny. It's not just like you're skinny. Martin, you never met my friend Martin. Tina is skinny. He was never an athlete.
Yeah,
there's a big
but
difference.
Anyways,
So
let's keep going. Let's keep going, Jet. So again, special senior year, like I run 49 at North Dakota State University, like a D1 race. Like I'm running against the best athletes in the region. And I didn't win the race, but I was the only D3 runner there. And like I just ran a special race. I got out so hard. I maintained it. I puked afterwards bad, but that was the happiest puke I've ever had in my entire life. And I will never have a happier puke than that. I mean, I just puked my guts out and then hugged my coach and and I knew I did something special, you know. I became the 5th fastest 400 runner in school history, and like and since then, you know, a couple of guys have run faster. So right now I'm 7th, but to me, like it means a lot to me because of the effort I put in, and like my goal was to be one of the best to ever do it for Concordia in terms of running the 400, and I accomplished that. And so it was really special. But then like I graduated and I realized, oh, what do I do now? I got my first job. It wasn't in broadcasting, and things started to go bad in my life immediately.
Where were you working for first job?
So first job, I graduated college, and I had a friend who worked for a company that basically sells like health benefits, you know, or like like
supplements,
huh?
Like supplements, or is what you're saying?
No, like, talking like health benefits, like FSAs.
Oh, yes, of course.
You know what I'm talking about?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like I was a customer service agent. And my friend worked there. So I have a really good friend who started work there his senior the year after I did, because he was a year older. So he did that, and I was looking at the job, and I was like, you know what? Like working customer service on the phone all day, taking 80 calls a day, maybe that'll help like with my stutter, and maybe that will propel me to a broadcasting career. Because here's the thing, I didn't have great tape. Like I broadcasted like on my own with a little recorder for the college football season for Concordia, but like I lost almost everything besides the first game I ever did, and it wasn't good at all. So like I was like, okay, so like I'm gonna work here. So I didn't realize it would be a nightmare, like working customer service, answering 60-80 calls a day.
No, I don't wish it on anyone, really.
Pretty soon, after a month or two, like I was having nightmares where I would wake up and I would like be clicking on my headset, because like we had these little weird headsets that you had to click off. In the night, I would be clicking my head like throughout the night. And So I did that.
Were
And
you afraid you were going to get stuck in that profession?
Well, I just got super depressed. I just got super depressed, and like I didn't know how to handle it. I mean, 2 months before that, I was speaking in front of 500 people, at an athletic function, giving inspirational speeches. 2 months before that, I was the happiest I've ever been. So to like go from that to being depressed, stuttering all the time, people making fun of you like on calls, like it just was wearing on me. So like I got that job in May, got through June, got through July, and how I survived in that job. So where I was working, great place to work, by the way, and it's actually a sponsor of our radio station, Discovery Benefits. Great place. So like what I did was I played a lot of ping pong because they had a ping pong table.
Yeah.
Then I met Steve Hallstrom. Steve Hallstrom worked sales at Discovery, and I heard that he was a former broadcaster, and I talked to him, and I was like, "Hey, I have a passion for broadcasting. I want to broadcast at a high level. What can I do?" And he goes, "You know what? You need to be practicing your skills a lot. Like if you have a record or something, do that. Or I think you should try to find a job at a small market." So he told me that. And, but unfortunately, there weren't any job openings. I didn't know what to do. I was so depressed, Jet, that I called my mom, called my dad, and I was like, you know what, I'm coming home. So I took a train back home to the Key Peninsula. That's where I grew up. And so I was back home, and that's where I was. And then, yeah.
You said you called your dad.
Stepdad.
Okay.
Yeah,
I didn't want to get too far ahead, but like one of the questions that we had discussed was about your father.
Sure. Like I don't know if this is where you want to put that in, or like.
I mean, if you feel comfortable.
That's kind of a different story, and that comes up later. Because remember, we're talking about 2014, 2015, right?
Yeah.
A lot has happened in the last 4 years,
Oh, I'm sure.
But but anyways,
I will let the story progress the way it's going because I'm interested. I'm really interested. So like, keep it up.
So I'm with my mom, my stepdad, and I'm like, what do I do? First thing I do, go to KGHB, go to Walrus. I was like, Walrus, like I love you, like I really would like to broadcast. Is there anything I can do for you?
Oh, he's trying to sell you weed probably at that point, right? I didn't mean to derail you about that, but I mean, it's just one of the funnier anecdotes I've had about the guy, who I love as well. But I remember on my 21st birthday, not on my 21st birthday, after I turned 21, I was doing a radio show, and he walked in. And he says, now that I feel like you're old enough, I need to tell you a secret. I happen to partake in smoking of marijuana. So the way he said it, too, it just cracked me up. And I think
did not know you'd go there, but
how is that?
Anyway.
Okay, I don't know what the rules are in Minnesota or North Dakota or wherever you are, but like here, it's really lax nowadays.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, I live in North Dakota, where that's not so much.
Not
but
so
anyway,
much lax.
I love the Walrus. He didn't have any openings, right? Because he had Ohad Lawi and like his guys do the games, and I was like, and at this point, I just came back from a crappy job. I was like, all I want to do is call a ball game. All I want to do is get some experience. And so there weren't any openings. And so I was like, oh, well, maybe, yeah, I didn't know what to do. So we went on a car ride, and he gave me some options. He's like, well, maybe you can have a show, or like,
And for the record, I mean, just so everyone knows, this was all volunteer basis, right?
Oh, absolutely. No pay. I mean, I'm not.
So you're not like, I mean, I just want people to understand that about KGHP, it's an entirely volunteer-run radio station. So you weren't even like begging for like a job. You were just begging for the opportunity to broadcast.
Yeah, absolutely. And unfortunately, there just wasn't that opportunity. So I talked to another radio station, and they're like, wait, well, you know what? You could broadcast Peninsula games for us. You could call Gig Harbor games for us. And I just remember thinking, man, like, what would Walrus think? Like, if I'm like...
You became the competition?
Yeah, like if I'm doing like a Peninsula game or a Gig Harbor playoff game when he's doing it. Mm-hmm. I felt like I just felt that would be weird. And even though I knew I needed that, like
Yeah.
I wanted to be a professional broadcaster.
Are
I
you
was
telling
just
me
like,
that you turned the job down?
well, I basically said, like, you know what, I don't think that's gonna work out. Like, unless we do the road games, which I don't think they wanted to. Like,
So
I
wait, even though okay, I have to ask because like so broadcasting meant so much to you. You were given an opportunity to broadcast, but your French,
no,
your
no,
but
no,
no, no, but
no.
no, but your friendship to the Walrus mattered more at that point.
Well, it did, but also like another thing I want to add, like there were other things, like they wanted me to sell advertising and this was like when the season was close to ending. So like we were talking like week 7, week 8 or something like that. So I was like, well, this doesn't make sense. Like I'm not going to be able to sell this in 2 weeks, like as good as Gig Harbor and Peninsula were that year, which by the way, they were very good. You know what? It just didn't work out. So that didn't work out. But then like I'm getting every day I'm getting more depressed at this point. This is fall of 2014. I'm back home for the first time in a while, like where like I'm actually living here, and I'm home alone all day, and all I was doing was watching First Take. I wasn't doing anything with my life at all, and I remember feeling so depressed. Like this isn't what I wanted. Like this is not the plan. This is not the script at all. And I got depressed, and then and then I went to a Peninsula game, and I sat there against Peninsula Lakes, and I remember just being like, I know I can be broadcasting this game. I know I can. Like and it just got me lower and lower, and things kept happening. I talked to the CEO of SDAA. I don't know if you've heard of this, but it's the Sportscaster Talent Agency of America. His name is John Chalesnik, and he helps people get jobs. He helps people get or just with their broadcasting. He worked at ESPN Radio, so we're kind of friends right now. But
You're
back
friends?
in the time,
With
Huh?
so it's a talent agency essentially. Yeah.
yeah.
And
So,
you're friends with the CEO, or how did you meet him?
well, the first time we talked, this is what I'm telling you about. So I signed up for this. Like I paid maybe $100 or something in about maybe September, October, and I was like, you know what? Because I talked to my mom, and she was like, maybe this is the way you want to go. Maybe you can get a job this way. So.
Yeah.
The problem is I had crappy tape. I had terrible, in my opinion, just wasn't good. It was from because I don't know about you, but I didn't broadcast a lot of football in college. I didn't.
No,
Like,
no. So no, if not just for me, no. I only did the basketball games.
So I only did 5 games, and I had no basketball tape. I had a little bit of that Fargo Force game that I did, which I listened to. I was like, gosh, this is terrible. So I'm like, how do I get a job? So I scheduled a conversation with John Chalesnik, CEO of Sportscaster Talent Agency, Sportscaster Talent Agency of America. This is 2014, and I talked to him, and you know what? I don't know what happened, but I got nervous, and I felt like I was stuttering most of the conversation, and I was sweating. I was at a McDonald's talking to him in Tacoma, and I was like,
The ultimate meeting spot.
and I and I remember thinking to myself, I'm never gonna get a job.
Do you think the stuttering is more impacted when you're nervous?
Maybe, but like I stutter on my show like yesterday, and like I mean, it's just I'm a person who stutters.
Yeah, but
I could go like 10 minutes.
But you said like when you're talking to this CEO of a sports talent agency, it's only natural you'd be nervous. So you think it does affect you to stutter more when you're nervous? You're always going to stutter, right? But like you feel like you stutter more.
Probably. Like I mean, I'm not gonna say definitively, but yeah, that makes sense.
Okay.
Like I mean, I know in that situation I was sweating everywhere, so probably. But
Yeah, he probably didn't even notice the stutter. He's just saying, "Why are your clothes so wet?"
But anyways, it didn't go well. So the depression continues. We go into early November. I'm depressed as heck. And you know what? I talked to the Walrus, and I was like, man, the playoffs are going to start. I've been following Peninsula and Gig Harbor football. Can I help out? You know what he says? He says, yes. I'm like, what? So I get super excited, Jet. I was like, yeah. So the plan is I'm going to be a sideline reporter.
Right.
So I'm like, all right, well, I'm going to prepare like crazy. And for some reason, like I got super intense. I was like, you know what? What if Ohad Lowry doesn't show up to the game? You got to be ready. So I literally spent all night preparing for this game. It was Peninsula versus Lakeside. And I got up as much nuggets as I could, like as much information. I made my spotting boards. I made my scripts. I made everything. So I was like, okay, just give me a chance. So for the first time in months, Jet, I've got hope. I've got the feeling that I can. This is my break. This is my chance. So that day I get to the stadium. So I get there early, talk to the Walrus, and he goes, Alex, like, I got to tell you, like, Ohad, like, I don't want you on the sideline.
Mm.
And I was like, oh, and I didn't know how to feel. I was like, I had all these notes. I know for a fact I prepared more than they did. Like not in an arrogant way, but like I literally spent like maybe 8 straight hours like research. Like
it says nothing about their preparedness. You just this was like your Super Bowl. This is like something you were.
It meant everything to me. I mean, I'm living basically in my parents' basement, and I'm depressed as heck, and I want to be a professional broadcaster. I don't know how to do it, and I'm super depressed.
And here you've been given this chance just to actually get some good game tape.
Yes. And so, to be honest with you, if Walrus is listening, like, he'll know, like, I probably said something angry. I can't remember exactly what I said, but I texted him angry, like, hey, man, like, this meant everything to me. So do
you blame the Walrus?
No, I don't blame him.
So
no, of course not. Of course not. Why do you think they didn't? I'm a professional sports director.
Why do you think yeah, of course. Why do you think that they didn't want you?
Well, I mean, personally, like, honestly, like, I think the big thing was, me and Walrus talked about this. Like, my last game with Ohad Lowry Fishbowl, like, Peninsula won 38-7, and when Peninsula won, or basically when it was over, I was like, sorry, Ohad, like, I'm going to go storm the field. This is a once-in-a-lifetime thing, And it was, and I don't regret that. But from his perspective, he was probably like, hey, you left me out here,
So he saw it as unprofessional.
Yeah. But anyways, I was also, like, 17 years old, Like,
you can't fault a teenager for that.
Yeah. But anyways, so maybe that, or maybe he just didn't want that. It doesn't matter.
Maybe they just didn't think they have the need for a sideline reporter. I mean, I actually did like some sideline reporting for not college, but for Peninsula, and I remember talking with the main play-by-play guy, and he said just like when you think you have something you want to contribute or talk about, you can just ring us, and then we will like put you on the air. And I think I remember talking to him after, but like or talking I think during the halftime. But they told me not to interrupt their broadcast as much. I don't think I think they want to stick to their thing. I mean, unless I had a chance to interview someone, I don't know if they wanted it.
Like,
it
the
doesn't
end
matter.
point is that like I put a lot into it, and no fault to anybody, but I was hurt.
Your one chance that you thought this was to sort of redeem and to make a solid game tape that you can pass on to this talent agency.
Well, just like I knew, like I wanted to get better. Like I mean, and one thing I know, like the more you do something, like the better you get. So I was super hurt. I remember going to the fence, watching this playoff game, and Peninsula just wrecked Lakeside. I mean, destroyed them. And I left at the half. The game was like 42-0 or something. And I remember just going to my car and just thinking, you know what, like I'm crying my heart out, and I'm having suicidal thoughts. I was like, you know what, like you're never gonna be a broadcaster. Like you should just kill yourself. And like I drove home, sat down, I'm crying, I'm yelling a little bit, And my parents like have like they had so my mom and stepdad, excuse me, have like had like a like have some illness, have some sort of pains or something, and so there's all these meds on the kitchen table, and you know what, I just looked at them and I was like, you know what, I'm gonna just take all these meds right now. And like I didn't, but yeah, so like I mentioned before that my depression was bad. At that point it was
Yes.
super bad. Went to see
Imagine,
a
was this
therapist.
so this was your first battle with not depression, but do you think with suicidal thoughts?
No, gosh, no.
So you had thought about it previously.
Yeah, but like here's the thing, like you got to remember, like I went through college where I had no real suicidal thoughts. Even when I got fired by the Fargo Force, like I don't think I was suicidal.
So college was a good experience, but
yeah, but no, but I was sad and depressed about it for at least a couple days. But yeah, like as a kid, like I mean, I just mentioned like a while in this podcast, my best friend died. Yeah, I was super suicidal after that, like super depressed after that, or like as a child again, like I grew up without my father. Yeah, like yeah, there's depression and like suicidal thoughts with things I experienced as a child. So like, but here I am, I'm 23 years old at this time, no, 22 at this point, and like I'm living at in my parents' house. Like I don't have a job, I'm not broadcasting, I don't have track, I'm completely lost, I don't have anything. Like I mean I just learned how to drive a car, so there's that. But like it was a super dark time in my life.
yeah.
And you know, November goes by, football season ends, I'm still super depressed. December is coming around, and I get a call from two friends, Logan Carlson and Eric Olson from Concordia. You know, they're both at the time still in Fargo Moorhead, and they're like, Benzie, as you know, that's my nickname. Like they're like, Benzie, like, I know you've been struggling a little bit. Would you be interested in coming back to Fargo? And you know what? I was like, yes.
Coming back, and this is when you started your job as an athletic director?
The athletic director? No, I've never been an athletic director.
Well, you had something to do with the Concordia like track program. Like, didn't you do something other than broadcasting?
Yeah, well, I mean, I've done a lot of things, but like, that's kind of like, I'll explain that, but like,
Yeah.
wait,
But
like, kind of,
before we go back to Concordia or we go back to Fargo, so this okay. So
I
the last game of the season was in December, and when did you get the call?
so like, the final game for Peninsula was like November probably. I don't
Okay,
know.
November the fast.
Well, one thing I want to say is that I moved back to Fargo Moorhead because of Logan Carlson and Eric Olson. That saved my life. Like, without a question, I would have died without that happening.
You
Like,
didn't see
so-
any other scenario other than broadcasting.
What do you mean?
Well,
Dude, okay.
I mean, like, so like your only options were like broadcasting or
No, because so I go to so first off, I want to explain that the reason why I just said I would have died is because my mom and dad got into a bad car accident near CenturyLink Field, and they almost died. So the
Really?
thing is like this happened in February of 2015 when I moved. I had just moved back to Fargo. The reason why I was saying like that saved my life is because I know for a fact I would have been in the car and I would have been on the left-hand side, and that's where the car that's where an elderly driver smacked their car. I would have died. Like there's no question about it. Like my stepdad and mom almost died in that car accident in February 2015.
but they are
So
both
that's
okay.
I think like my friends were being like, hey, like because they brought me back to Fargo and some good things started to happen in my life.
So this is a turning point.
Oh, absolutely, turning point. So I take another. So overnight I take another train. Get there like 5 a.m. Brad McCon picks me up. He's a friend from Fargo and Concordia. Picks me up. So I stay 2 weeks at their apartment. But at this point, I'm basically homeless. I mean, if that's what if that's what you count homelessness as, just not having a place to live and just
For how
so
long?
for 2 weeks. So I
2 weeks
got
without a home. Yeah.
yeah. So I found an apartment close to North Dakota State University, and I had a job within a week because I don't know what happened. Like immediately, I came back to Fargo, and I was like, I just got motivated again, and like I got a job as a reading, basically a reading teacher at an elementary school, and so I did that, and like I did that full time until August actually.
A reading teacher.
Yeah, so I was I was a reading teacher, man, and here's the thing, like for
How does
some
that work? You
reason-
didn't study elementary education, so
I was homeless, Jet. Like I had to get a job.
I'm
like,
not saying you didn't have to get a job. I'm just curious as to how you got a job teaching children.
I've
Usually,
always liked kids. I mean, I've always liked kids.
I know, but is it different out in North Dakota? I mean, don't they require some sort of education in child development or elementary education?
Oh,
No?
no. Like first off, like have you heard of AmeriCorps?
I have. Not familiar.
Okay, so it was an AmeriCorps program, and I've got a degree in communications and a Spanish minor. So like, and
that qualifies.
I'm good at interviews.
Okay.
And so anyways, yeah, you're right. Like, but again, here's the thing.
Wait,
like,
you were a Spanish minor. Don't you speak Spanish?
yeah, I'm fluent in Spanish. Like, so
Can you
but
do
anyways,
that?
You can do that. It's easy, man. Okay, but
That's it.
anyways, like,
That's a cop out, really, for languages. But okay.
like here's the thing I didn't say about the job. Like, it was terrible pain, man. Like in my opinion, it was $400. It was $800 a month. So like, which isn't good, man.
No.
Like, not good at all.
It's
But it was a
keeping you
job.
afloat, really.
Yeah. So it kept me afloat. Exactly. So I did that. And then back in August, like I remember talking to this guy named Steve Hallstrom, and like he told me about a team called the Fargo Invaders, and they're a semi-pro football team in Fargo.
I'm
And they
loving
don't
some
have-
of these names.
What's that?
I'm loving some of these names. I mean, like, did you know about the XFL?
Yeah, they're starting a Seattle team. You see that?
Seattle Dragons.
Yeah, that's a terrible name.
It's a
but
terrible
whatever.
name, but that's why I'm bringing up with the whole Fargo Invaders, Fargo Force. What the hell does that have to do with Fargo?
Whatever.
Invaders, is
But-
this Canadian? Like, is it basically saying the Fargo Canadians?
No, man. What about? Never mind. I'm not gonna go into this.
I'm gonna
with you.
get into it if you want to, but I don't want to interrupt it. But something we can maybe come back to. Or maybe in a different podcast.
Well, anyway, I
team
love the
names
Invaders.
need
Whatever
team
you-
names need to
whatever you
reflect
say.
the area at which they are representing.
Yeah, whatever. But anyways, like on this team. But the reason why I point this out is at this point, I'm pretty sure Steve Hallstrom started working at AM 1100 The Flag in Fargo.
Your current
So-
radio station.
Yes. So this is where there's a little interesting twist here. So I was like, you know what? What if I get on AM 1100 The Flag and broadcast the Fargo Invaders? And then I was like, you know what? Maybe I'll just talk to Steve and talk to their operation. So I sent them an email. I was like, hey, my name's Alex Benzegala. I'm a Concordia graduate. I love broadcasting, and maybe I could broadcast some Fargo Invaders games for you. So we talked about it, and end of story. It didn't work out.
A lot of build up there.
So I was like, okay, now what do I do? So you know what I did? I think I just emailed as many radio stations as I could. So I think Fargo has like 20 stations, bunch of country, some pop, some everything. I emailed them.
Yeah, I don't remember if this was before the podcast or at the beginning of it, but like not a lot of options for radio stations out in Fargo, North Dakota. I'd imagine you're either going to do country or some sort of talk radio.
Okay, first off, that's not fair. That's a stereotype.
Is it?
And
I lived in Pullman, and like Pullman's only a little bit east of the mountains, and I remember about like 90% of the stations were country or like Mexican music.
All right, but Fargo Moorhead has like four different colleges. So
Okay.
like these people come from all over the world. So like there's like a good Somali population, a Sudan population. I mean, just a big African population. There's
So East Africa.
I just want to make this point.
All over the world or
Play
East
soccer.
Africa.
I play soccer every day
Okay.
with a bunch of people from India, from Nepal, from like all parts of the Arab world. So like,
Okay.
and I'm the only white guy usually.
Okay.
So like,
Okay, so there you go.
Okay.
I was wrong about my stereotype. Like everything east of Idaho, to me, just seems about as country western white boy you can get.
yeah, no, I get that, and I came from Iowa, and I hope we get there somewhere. But let me try to speed it up a little bit. So
Yeah,
like,
okay, because we're about an hour in. I want to get more back closer to today.
okay, so here's the thing. So I land I find a nonprofit station kind of like KGHP. We get with the Invaders. I broadcast their season, and I was like, I want to be the voice of a high school. That's my dream. That's always been my dream. So one school called West Fargo Cheyenne started their second year in 2015. Brand new school, 2014, their first year, they were 3-6. So again, I went to AM 1100 The Flag, and I was like, hey, what do you think about being the voice of West Fargo Cheyenne? And they're like, why West Fargo Cheyenne? And I was like, because they're going to be good. I know it. And I had no evidence to support that.
You just had to say something.
But again, no team again, I was already with this station with Ken's FM. So I landed West Fargo Cheyenne football, and it's my first experience as the voice of a high school, and it was great, but I was a volunteer for 2 years.
Volunteer is still something, but like you said that your dream was to broadcast high school sports?
Well, at that moment, I'm not.
But no, okay. I just wanted to clarify because, like, I mean, if your true lifelong dream was to broadcast high school sports, then more power to you, man, because that's as local as it gets. But some people have I'm not going to call them smaller dreams, but the dreams more of a simple life.
Well, no, but here's the thing. I'm basically still homeless, man. I'm not gonna be that guy who's like, oh, I want to be the voice of the Seahawks. That's not realistic in that moment.
No,
no
one's taking that from Steve Rabel.
Yeah,
but
exactly.
Wait, so you're homeless again? I thought you said there was like a 2-week period you were homeless.
Oh, and I've been homeless like 5 times. Like, this is okay. So here's the thing, that AmeriCorps thing, like, the AmeriCorps thing ended in early August. I needed to find a new place because I was living with a bunch of college guys. So I think I don't know, like I think I found a place, but then I lived with a girl who like had ferrets. Ferrets are gross, man. Like, don't ever get ferrets, in my opinion. Like,
that's like a weasel, right?
Yeah, they're cute, but they're gross. So like
They
she
smell?
would like leave the ferret crap like close to, now I don't want to say anything else because she might listen to this. Never mind.
No, I mean I'll say it for you. I think rabbits are gross. People think rabbits are cute, but they smell because they poop all the time.
Yeah. Anyways, ferrets are gross. But anyways, so I didn't like that.
Rabbits.
I had to find a new place, and I found a new job. So one of my favorite jobs ever. I started working at this place in Fargo called the Dakota Boys and Girls Ranch. And they have a school called Dakota Memorial School. And I became a paraprofessional at the school, which means like I just help out with the school, help out the teachers, work one-on-one with students. I did that for a year.
But that's paraeducation, right? So you're dealing with children with special needs?
With like, yes, special needs and like just maybe substance abuse issues or whatever issues they're going through. So I love that job. And then that fall is my first fall as the voice of one team. So like, if you remember at KJHP, all they did was home games. But I traveled to every game, and West Fargo Cheyenne went 7-2 in their first real season with a senior class. They shocked everybody. They became the talk of the town. They win their first playoff game. It's just a magical year for me. And they make the state semifinals, and it was just, my confidence at this point was just so much higher than it was exactly a year before.
Not only that, but you have a pretty good future as a fortune teller, because didn't you pull that out of your ass when you told them that these guys are going to be good?
No, I knew they were going to be good.
No. You said you had no way of knowing.
No, I mean, there's no way. Okay, there is no way of knowing.
But you had a solid educated guess.
Okay,
You had
I'm
an
gonna stop.
educated guess they
I
were going to
knew
be good.
They were going to be good. They had to be good because West Fargo is growing like crazy, and like everybody, and my one of
Is
my
that
best
right?
friends from West Fargo, so he's like, you know what, West Fargo is growing. They're going to be the biggest school like in the area soon. Like, so like I knew that coming in. So like,
That's
anyways,
interesting. You've done your
that's
research. Good
just
on
an
you.
So that year ended. That year we had a family vacation in Mexico, which was great. Come back, but you know what? I did a year at West Fargo Cheyenne after about a year, close to a year of working at this place. I was like, you know what? Maybe I could be a teacher. Like I really love working with kids. You know, I substituted one or a couple classes, and I killed it. So I was like, you know what? Maybe I could be a teacher. And I don't know if you've ever heard of this organization. Have you ever heard of Teach for America?
No, but I have a strong suspicion about what it is.
So it's basically it's basically an organization that usually takes recent college grads and puts them in tough places, in a lot of urban areas. Or I got a friend who was placed in South Dakota. Again, this really
Is this
close
their
friend
sort
from
of way
West
of getting a teaching certificate, you're saying?
Yeah.
So they'll take any college graduate and put them into this program, and they'll send them somewhere. You teach for a year or two, or how it works?
That's exactly right. It's a 2-year program.
Oh, that's amazing. Actually,
my friend,
that's a good thing.
And here's the thing, like just being honest about the pay, like my jobs, like after college, like a part of me was like, you know, I could probably get paid a little bit more, like, because you know I was a paraprofessional at a school. Just to be honest with you, it just isn't great, you know, for a Concordia graduate who's got 40 grand in debt, you know, it's just not the best. So I love that opportunity, and you know what? I said, see ya, broadcasting, see ya. You were about to take
that like final adios.
No, I did. What are you talking about? I totally.
No, you didn't.
No, listen to me. I joined Teach for America. I somehow get into a very hard organization. I get in, and I get placed in Oklahoma City. So my broadcast
that's what brought you there.
Gone.
You're broadcasting. Okay. Well, let's preface that with saying it wasn't done, but at the moment you thought it was.
Alex in that moment was like, you know what? Like, I'm totally fine being a teacher for the rest of my life because I love kids, I love helping, I love serving.
No, it would be a perfect career for you, I think. And actually, I've known a few teachers, some of them good, some of them bad, and I'm not talking about anyone who taught me. Everyone who taught me was bad, but yeah, I have a few friends who are teachers, so. And it's a noble profession. I like it, yeah. Okay, OKC. How'd you like
moved
that?
To Oklahoma City. First off, I want to make the point out that I really enjoyed spending 4th of July there, the day that Durant left Oklahoma City.
Oh, you were?
Yeah.
You were there You were there when he left, huh?
Yeah, no. Dude,
Did you talk with locals?
He had a restaurant. There. And I never went because I didn't realize he was going to leave. I was planning on going with a friend.
You always thought you were going to have that opportunity.
Yeah, but I didn't realize. Yeah, so he left.
It should have been obvious to everyone in Oklahoma City that he wanted to leave, right? I mean, I think Kevin Durant was pretty vocal back in the day, even that he wasn't a big fan of Oklahoma. I mean, so how did the locals take it? I don't want to change the subject too dramatically, but tell me just really quick, did you talk with a lot of people about that transaction?
No, of course not, because to be honest, like that summer, you know, I'm a sports guy. I didn't care about sports. I mean, I had my first girlfriend ever in that time. So so that was like a high priority in my life because I had no idea what that was like going in.
All right.
And then
Oklahoma girls, huh?
Being a teacher, I don't know if you can imagine putting in like 1 month or like a month and a half of cramming like preparation to be a teacher because a lot of people go 3-4 years to prepare to be a teacher, you know, in undergrad. I had like a month and somehow like other people were able to manage it. But man, like remember we were talking about like, you know, my depression from a few years before this, like it came back hard because it's like, man, I started making a lot of mistakes. The stuttering was super bad. Like I would wake up every morning at 5:30, and I wasn't used to that. And then like, so the stress of a teacher, like if there's a teacher listening, what you do is way harder than what anybody can imagine, I think. And
What
I've
about
been
coal
through
mining?
it. Huh?
What about coal mining?
I mean, God, you're always playing devil's advocate.
I'm just saying. I mean,
right, but
I'm not picking on teachers. I'm just,
But anyways,
I'm not
how
for
do I-
patting everyone on the back for basically watching over kids.
But like a bunch of people might be wondering, like, well, then how do you become a broadcaster? Like,
Yeah. So you found you were happy at this point. Why change?
Well, I was stressed as heck.
Oh, yeah?
And starting to get depressed really hard, and then.
Oh, you're getting depressed again.
Yeah, that's what I was trying to express to you. Like, because like I started failing a lot as a teacher, and like I handle.
What is failing as
no.
a teacher then? What was
Well,
going
like
on?
for example, I'm trying to remember. It's so hard to remember exactly all the mistakes I made, but I basically was on this like thing for Teach for America, like I made a mistake, and if I keep making those mistakes, they're gonna like fire me basically. So like that gave me like a lot of anxiety, a lot, and like. And school starts in Oklahoma. I don't know if it's still this, but this is what it was 3 weeks ago, August 1st. So there was like
What?
no time off at all. Like
They don't they don't have a summer school. I mean they don't have summer break.
Well, I mean, but the thing is, my summer break was preparing to be a teacher.
For
like,
you, but for the
I-
kids, the school starts on August 1st.
Yeah, but like all of us,
Huh.
we were a Teach for America. So like we spent the whole summer like student teaching and like and preparing to be a teacher. So I went from a full-time job like in the classroom here in North Dakota to being like full-time job like in Oklahoma City. We had like a week or two off, and man, my depression got hard. I was starting to have suicidal thoughts right before the school year. Kept fighting these thoughts, and I went to a wedding in Minnesota, came back, started the year, and then this is where all heck go. I mean, so like first day of school went really well, but I couldn't walk afterwards. Like I was so emotionally spent.
Really?
After that first day of. Oh gosh, I
What do you
couldn't
mean by
walk.
emotionally spent then?
Well, I don't know, like just all like 30 kids in the classroom, trying to remember their names, trying to get them activities, like just no time of like real rest, and like it seemed.
So you felt
It was-
physical exhaustion from
Yeah.
all this preparing and actual teaching.
Yeah, and
Well, that's interesting.
then yeah, so the next day comes, I wake up at 5, and this is gonna be real honest. Like this is hard to talk about, but I'll talk about it. Like, so I told everybody in my grade, like all the other teachers, I taught second grade. This is day 2 of being a teacher, and I said I'd make some copies for all of them. Well, I went to the copier, and I couldn't figure out how to do the stupid copier. Like I just was pressing the wrong button. I was getting frustrated. I was like,
Don't
"Dang
worry
it."
about it. Copiers are tougher than rocket science. Trust me.
Yeah, and I was like, you know what? You just gotta. Okay, fine. Just so I didn't do that, and then the day happened. And I just mistake after mistake after mistake. You know, like
So you felt like
I
it was
didn't-
snowballing.
Yeah. Oh, it was snowballing bad, Jet. Bad. So like, here's the thing. There was a kid in my class who was not supposed to be there. So he was there the entire day. So a secretary came in, and she gave me a bad look for like not knowing like that this kid was supposed to be in like first grade or something. Like,
What grade were you teaching?
I was teaching second grade.
Oh, come on then. Are you gonna be
I
able
mean,
to?
I don't know how Jose got there. I don't know. Like,
So the kid's name was
and-
Jose. But okay, but
but-
like, how wrong is it that you mistook a second grader for a first grader,
well, I should have known. I
or
should have
first grader for a
looked- I
second
mean,
grader?
it doesn't really matter. All
They
I'm
don't give
saying
you a
is-
Facebook before the class, so you know all your students. Basically, your second day, you're still getting to know everyone.
Yeah. So, anyways,
Yeah.
things start going to crap quickly. Like,
Because of
I-
goddamn Jose.
like my organization was terrible. And
Has it always
my
been the way?
depression, I've struggled with suicidal thoughts for a long time. But
Oh, yeah.
like as a child, like that's when it first started. But
As a
like anyways,
child?
like in
How
that
young?
moment, I was
So
like
I
having a
sorry to interrupt. I mean, you said something about like your in 8th grade your best friend died, or 7th,
8th grade, yeah.
8th grade. So how long back would you say you've had these suicidal thoughts?
I would say probably 8 or 9 at least.
8 or 9 years old. So even
Yeah.
before your friend died.
Yeah, probably. I mean, so like, well, but I mean, I don't remember 5, 6 very well, but like,
But if
ma- like again, like I was abandoned like at 3.5 by my father, and like I know for a fact like that has affected me for a long, long time, and in that moment, like it affected me too. So like, so there's a lot of things like I don't want to like I want to somehow finish this story.
all
So
right,
like I don't want to
we'll come
go
back to
back
that. We'll
too
put a
far.
pin in that. I
I
mean,
mean,
like,
we could talk some other time too. I mean,
I feel like we're gonna have to because we're I mean I think we're at an hour and 15 minutes and we still have a laundry list of things we haven't talked about yet. So
yeah. So
so
like,
I think this podcast is just gonna be your life story and we'll have to bring you on another time to discuss other issues.
yeah, but again, so like I'm in Oklahoma City. I'm having suicidal thoughts, and these thoughts are just going super fast.
Mhm.
Super. I haven't felt this way in a long time, but like I felt it a couple days before it. Just a lot of anxiety, a lot of depressive thoughts, and then like this day, like they were spiraling. Like there was this girl in my class. I would look at her in her eyes, and like my perception was like, man, this guy's a terrible teacher. And I would just internalize that, and the entire day just having these suicidal thoughts that were popping in. And I ended the school day with like I read a book, and I was stuttering. I swear, like it felt like every word. And some of the kids would kind of like mimic me a little bit, and like it would just break my heart. And I was like, okay, that's it. That's the final thought, the straw. Like I'm gonna go kill myself. So like school
Reach
ends,
that point.
I'm able to get all of my all of my students on the bus, and and the assistant principal was like, you did a great job today. And I was like, yeah, thanks, yeah. And and in my mind I was like, I'm gonna kill myself. So that doesn't make sense. Like whatever. Like, and so school ends.
But just
I
to
re-
just to reiterate, this is only your second day teaching, right?
Yeah, second.
It's
day.
only second day teaching, so you can jump to that point, that mind state that quickly. You think?
Oh, absolutely. I mean, I'm not. I mean, it's hard. It's hard for me to explain. Like, yeah, I've done that.
I mean, yeah. I mean, maybe
Like-
anyone out there who's battling depression can empathize. For me, it's like I have moments in my life where I'm more down than not, but it's usually how should I say? It's like a slow burn. It's like
Yeah,
the
but
low.
like, I
the-
also haven't explained like, and I'm not going to in this podcast right now. Like, explain exactly the root, like, because it's
no.
I had a traumatizing.
Yeah, well, we don't need to go into that because like that was one of the things we talked about before going on the air, and it was one of the things that you said that was just let's move past that. But you're talking about teaching. You've reached these you've reached the point where you just began to get suicidal because what did you think you were writing off a whole another career again?
Writing off? What do you mean?
What I mean, like so like you would basically like so when you thought broadcasting was over, that's when you had your suicidal thoughts.
No, this was
And then-
different. This
This was
actually-
different than the.
No, yeah, this is way different because in that situation, I was like living with my mom and stepdad, and that was like making me
So,
miserable.
that
This was
time-
like,
Go ahead. Sorry.
this was more like, like, you're terrible. Like, you're a terrible teacher. Like, you can't do this. So like, and again, like I hadn't slept very well. I didn't eat anything that day. So like when I look at the history of my depressive thoughts, that's always been an issue, not eating. Like, but anyways, like
compounds it?
that day, like I called the suicide hotline. I got angry and I just drove to a bridge in Oklahoma City, on the south side of Oklahoma City. Parked at a gas station, went to a bridge, called my mom, told her this was it, told my girlfriend this was it, and I got on the bridge and like I looked at the water, and for some reason like I just got off the bridge and I just drove straight to the hospital. So like I got into the hospital. And yeah, and it gets, yeah, gosh.
Well, what do you think it got into you? What was it?
Well, I think feelings. Well, listen, I'm not like I can't tell you. I mean, like that's not the first time I want to do that. Like,
No, it wasn't. But
when like Sam died, like I remember, like I remember, like I was looking at a lake. Like I lived in Lake Minnerwood over in the Key Peninsula, Washington. So like, I dreamed a lot about jumping into that lake.
right.
And
But
it wasn't
something
like
always
that
brings
was,
you back from it. Is my point. Like,
well, because deep down, I don't think I really want to kill myself, or like I truly believe it's a battle. Like,
so you think it was more of just like you fantasize about the idea of it. It's not like, was it like,
well,
how compelling was it? Like it was.
Here's the thing.
Yeah.
Here's the thing. Like this has happened many times. So
Right.
like this is the first instance. We've got six more. Six? Yeah. So we've got more instances. So like what I'm gonna say is like the pattern is like stress, like feelings of worthlessness, feelings of not a feelings. Usually like when I feel suicidal, like my thought is like, yeah, you know what? If you kill yourself, you'll never feel failure. You'll never stutter. You'll never feel any pain. You'll never be hurt. You'll never be made fun of. You'll never fail. You know. And then usually at some point, like rational Alex, like kicks in and is like, well, you know, I'm married now. You know, like
But
I
it's
love
always
my
the
wife.
people you care about that bring you back. Then.
No, I mean, no, like my love for broadcasting is pretty close to my, like, I mean, I love broadcasting before sports, like we haven't really talked that much about like sports, but
Well, I
like,
haven't talked almost at all. But like
Yeah, but-
I'm going wherever the conversation leads us. But like I don't want to harsh in on this, but I'm really curious about it. I mean, so yeah, I understand the feelings that you get when you get to the
Well-
point where you're suicidal. But I really want to focus in on what is it that brings you out of it. So you have these moments you're pointing out, like where you feel like it's worthless and that you'll never fail again. Just do it. But you never go through doing it. So there's something bigger, something more that's compelling you not to do it.
well, I think, well, it's hard to explain, but like, I think for whatever reason in the moment, I've always made the right choice.
You always have, yeah.
And like, so like, but what I will explain to you is that right choice, I mean, it doesn't always lead to instant, I don't know what the word is, easy life, or it just, I mean, a lot. So I want to kind of lead into what happens next. I went to the hospital. Where do you think I went next? Well, I guess what? Like I went to a place that felt like hell. So like I went to that hospital at about 6:00 at night. I realized I didn't eat, so I was like, "Can I have something to eat?" So I get a sandwich. They ask me a lot of questions. A doctor comes on, and she's like, "Where do you want to go?" And I'm like, "Can I just go to somewhere that can get help with this? Because I've struggled with this for a long time." And but then I told her like I don't know if I was broke at that moment, because I mean like we weren't really paid for our Teach for America. We got like a stipend type thing, so like I was concerned about money. So man, they sent me to the worst, absolutely worst place ever. Like
The free
it was-
clinic?
It was like, this place was in Norman, Oklahoma. I can always say I've been in Norman, Oklahoma, but transfer me to Norman, place called Red Rock. Place was like hell, man. Like just people screaming, people yelling.
So this
Like
was this a so this is a mental hospital that they sent you to?
yeah, I wouldn't call it mental health. I mean, I'd have to look up what Red Rock is, but like it was just terrible. And like,
Is this the first time that you actually saw medical help for this depression?
yeah, like I saw like a therapist one session when I was at home that first time.
Yeah, but this is the
After-
first time you checked yourself into a hospital because you were worried that it wasn't going to go away.
Yeah. So
And then they
so,
ended up sending you to this place that you're describing as hell. It
Yeah,
can't
it
be
was
that
hell,
much.
dude.
Not a good place to send someone who's depressed, I'm sure.
Exactly. I was sleeping in my bed once, and I swear, like a schizophrenic guy, like came into my room and jumped on my bed, and like I was so scared, Jet. Like I remember jumping off and just being like, God, just please help me, and
Wow.
like. So I spent a week there, and I don't want to tell you everything that happened there, but I basically there's no therapy, man, no therapy or anything like that. All they gave me was a drug. I believe they gave me Zoloft to
That's
help
incredible.
with depression. So yeah, it was terrible.
I
but
mean, so many.
girlfriend
Okay,
at the time.
yeah.
Credit to my
She-
ex-girlfriend at the time. She came to visit me all the time, and
she's stuck by you.
yeah, so like that always means a lot, even though like obviously we're not together anymore because I'm married. Like
Yeah, but you
that-
still can look back fondly on
Yeah.
past relationships and friendships, even if not past the point. But like, that's incredible. I mean, like so much of what we're talking about, you could break this down, like each section of your life. There's a whole podcast, whole worth of material just discussing each individual event. We're trying to cram like 10 years worth of information. And
I know. I don't know how.
and-
I don't know what you want me to talk about now.
No, it's I don't, like I said, I don't think we're gonna be able to get past that. But like I think you'll have to call in another time for another podcast. We're gonna have to like go more in depth on some of the bullet points that I have for this topic.
But like,
Especially this
okay,
idea. So they didn't give you any therapy. It was just drugs.
Yeah, but this was a crappy. This really is. I mean, I don't want anyone at Red Rock to be offended, but like, just not it. I mean, I've been. Well, I guess I'll give away a little bit. I mean, I've been in more places as if we continue the talk. Like
Yeah,
this
yeah.
isn't the end, man. Like this
Oh
isn't,
man, I know. I mean, so like, where are we at? 2016, 2017. Where are we at now?
Yeah. We're at. What year are we? We're
2019
not
right now.
2016. We're 2016 in this. So here's the thing. One thing I forgot to talk about when I was in this place. It was the Olympics, man. 2016 Rio, man. And so that was really hard because they didn't have freaking NBC. So like so they didn't have NBC, so I was missing the Olympics, but I was just watching SportsCenter, and I don't know if you remember. I remember watching the TV depressed, and like Romo got injured, and it was like, what? And then Prescott came out of nowhere to take that job. So like, sorry, I bring that up because like when I'm in a place like that, I try to look for something to do to make me feel better. And sports is that. Sports has always been that, Jet. Always and always will be. So like, what I started when I was in this hospital, I was depressed as heck, and I was like, okay, what do I do to make myself feel better? Do I go back to teaching? And I was like, you know what? You almost just killed yourself in that classroom. You're not going back there. You can't go back there. So what I was thinking, I was like, you know what? I want to broadcast. And I thought of West Fargo Cheyenne. They just came off a 7-2 season, and they have guys coming back like Hayden Reynolds, all-state linebacker. You know what? I'm going to do that. So I got out of there, talked to my girlfriend, and she was like, no, like, I think you should teach. I don't want you to regret that. And I was like, I'm sorry. Like, I can't. And then she said something I didn't like, and now I was like, okay, that's it. Boom, I'm leaving. So I pack up my bags, and I go back to Fargo, North Dakota. Do I have a plan? Not really. Do I have an idea of what I'm doing other than calling Cheyenne football, Jet? Not really. So I make that 11-hour drive, and I've got a friend in Fargo, and he's still here, and like, you know what? He was having issues, and he was like, yeah, you can stay with me. So I stayed with him for 2 weeks, and I'm pretty sure I broadcasted West Fargo Cheyenne's first game that year in Bismarck. I was homeless. I was living with my friend, and I was able to find a job within actually the next day. Isn't this crazy? The next day I came back to Fargo, I found a job at a daycare. So
we're still sticking around the kids.
and it was hard, but it was different. Like I was like an assistant teacher always.
It keeps
And to be
going back
honest,
between teaching and broadcasting, doesn't it?
what's that?
It just keeps going back between teaching and broadcasting.
Yeah, well, especially at this point. So I work at this daycare, and I do the Cheyenne season. Me and this girl, like, we break up, but like we are talking a lot throughout this fall of 2016. So it was we broke up, but it didn't really feel like it to me because we talked almost every day. But anyway, so months go by, and you know what? Like, I realized, hey, I really like this girl. So like, I started looking at broadcasting jobs after the high school season ended, and I literally called every station in Oklahoma, like every single one, and I heard back from a station on the border of Kansas and Oklahoma. I sent them my stuff, and they were interested. And then I got into a car accident. Like,
What?
I got into such a bad. So this is another. My story's crazy. I'm telling you. Like, you can't make this stuff up, man. Like, I was being stupid. I was looking at my phone, and like,
Oh no.
car in front of me stopped. I was. Let
Let that be a lesson to everyone listening
you
in.
kids
There's
out there who
nothing-
drive and text.
Nothing worth. There's nothing that's like that can wait. That can't wait. Just
I know. You're right. And to be honest, I still struggle.
please
with
tell
this
me
a
you were at least looking at funny memes.
No, I was looking at something stupid.
Like funny memes aren't stupid. But yeah. Oh no. Okay, so
But-
you got. I know how the highways are in Kansas too. So how fast were you going?
Well, no, we're not Kansas. We're still in Fargo. I haven't got the job yet. What are you talking about?
You said you were driving down. You had you're driving down to Kansas, weren't you? Didn't you?
No. Sorry. I meant to say I was driving to Fargo. So I still have this job. I haven't got the job in Kansas yet. Coffeyville. We'll talk about Coffeyville a little bit. But so I get in this accident. So a car in front of me stops. I didn't see it because I'm a freaking idiot at this moment, and like I crash into it. So airbags blow up. I get out of the car. I freak out. Like I call my girl. I can't call her my girlfriend, but like we're kind of like dating, kind of like, and we so I explain what happened. I get picked up by my friend, go home. And so next couple of days feel fine. I'm getting rides to work. Everything is good. So, like things move on with this job. And then like I do another interview, and then they send me there's a couple of things they want me to do at this point. So like I send them more material that I get from the old station I was working at was helping me actually. So again, like I'd been broadcasting 2 years straight for free for this station, so they were helping me out, and then weird things started to happen, Jet. So like I get the job. So I get this job like as a morning news host at this station in Coffeyville, Kansas, and I became the voice of Coffeyville Community College, football, basketball, like big time. Like they've had players in the NFL, Jonathan Joseph, John Brown. So I'm super jacked. I'm literally this is the happiest moment of my life. So like an SCAA, I talked to you earlier about them. They wrote an article about me. I make a Facebook post, and I'm super happy. But then things start falling apart. Like I stopped sleeping for like a week, and then things start happening. Oh man, I don't know if I can explain this one, but my father, like he called me randomly.
Your
And
biological father.
Yeah, biological father. I've never met Rafiq Benzegala at this point. Still haven't here in 2019. And I remember him saying, I'm so sorry for the pain I've caused you. I'm so sorry for not being there, and I just hope you forgive me. And you know what? Like,
So this is the first time you've heard from him in about 20 years.
No, like in college we would message, like.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. Sorry. Like, I guess I didn't like because again, it's a long story. My life's a long story, so
Right.
like I don't.
I
tell
just
you,
thought
like,
I just
every-
you told me that like your father had abandoned the family when you were like 3 years
Well,
old, and
Yeah, I mean it's super complicated. Like, cause remember you didn't ask me to be like, all right, tell your story from 3.5, because that would be even longer.
Yeah.
Man. Like, so there's a lot of things there, like
yeah,
you
but
know,
so I assume though that like that was the last time you had seen or heard from him when you were just a little kid, which you
He's-
told me you've never really met him, so you still
Well,
haven't.
Well, I still haven't met him physically, but we have talked. I can't remember when the last time. Well, maybe that's okay. So again, so he sent that. So
yeah.
I made a Facebook post being like, you know what? And for some reason at that point, like everything was good in my life. I was moving back to Kansas, like, and to be honest, I at that moment thought I was gonna move back to be with the girl I told you about in Oklahoma City. And for some reason in my brain at that time, I was like, you know, we're going to get married. So I said something about like, you know what, I hope to get married. And then like, I hope my father is there. You know, and that just created a shitstorm. Like, like the first off, the girl was like, "Wait, we haven't talked about marriage." And I was like, "Oh, I know, but like, no." And then my parents got upset, and to be honest, like, I absolutely lost it. And I don't know
Parents
if you
got
want.
upset. Your parents
Huh?
got upset at you?
Yeah, my parents got upset because again, there's a lot of trauma that is involved between my father and my mom and my stepdad, like that I don't really remember.
So,
So
your
like,
your family was upset that you were talking to your father.
that like, well, first off, like, I mean, there's a
Not
lot
even
of things.
meeting, just talking.
Oh, no, I think they were upset that I said. Here's the thing, though. I was starting to show signs of a mental illness because I hadn't slept in like 7 days.
You
So
were already
like,
depressed. mean,
I was not depressed.
No,
First off,
so was they started to see signs of another phase?
no, like I'm bipolar. Okay, I'm
Yeah.
bipolar. I'm gonna throw that out there. So, but like,
Hey, my brother's
this is what
bipolar. I
happened
understand.
now, Okay, so like I stopped a sign of
Yeah, I can't.
bipolar, is not sleeping. So like I didn't sleep for like 7 days.
Jesus.
And what?
I said Jesus.
Yeah, no, I'm telling you, like that's so like so that but again, remember I got in this car accident. So like I talk with my mom about this all the time, like how much of that is like the head trauma of your head hitting like the airbag and like your brain shaking, you know, because again, the car stopped and I rammed straight into it. So like
Yeah.
so you got to remember there's the brain trauma, there's also childhood trauma. My father calls me. I'm trying to get to Coffeyville, Kansas. My parents are upset. This girl that I care about is confused and upset, and I'm just like I don't know what to do. So I'm like, dang, like what? So things start to get worse. You think this is bad, it gets way worse. So like the next day, I was showing terrible signs of either psychosis or mania. Like I can't exactly say what, but I basically like a close friend that I have like drives me an hour and a half to another friend in a part of Minnesota called Detroit Lakes, and so I'm with him, and things are just getting I'm not stable at all at this point, and like things just keep getting worse, and I keep saying like I've got to get to Coffeyville. I've got to get this. I've been working for so hard, so long. I got to get to Coffeyville. I want to be the voice of the Red Ravens. And so like I saw a doctor in this small town. They said, you know, like I think you're okay. Like we'll just see how you are like in the next few days. So I'm still with my friends. I'm talking to my mom. All this is going on. I'm super angry at my stepdad, my mom, my brother. I'm angry at my father. I yelled at him bad when we talked. And so like, and then I unfortunately I said some terrible things to this girl that I still regret. But like, I know I was in a bad
You
spot.
took a lot of the frustration you had with your family problems out on her.
Well, again, like, just imagine going 7 days, 8 days, 9 days without sleeping, and you're not eating well. And
What
you're
did you
like,
say to her?
I can't say that. I won't say. She knows what I said, but like, I can't say it.
Okay, no, that's fair. That's absolutely fair.
Like, it's just like there's some things that are like that don't have to be said. But I
Okay.
will say,
Yeah.
I said something that you should never tell a woman. That's fair. Like,
Okay.
that's
No, I totally understand. Like,
so she got super upset, right?
understandably, yeah.
So there's all these things. I'm still not sleeping. I'm not sleeping at all.
We're
Day
like
after
7,
day.
8 days in, or how long now?
8 days in. I don't know exactly how much.
It all
but
blended
like,
together, didn't it?
yeah. So now like I'm at his cabin. That night my mom's like, you know what, Alex, I think your brain's bleeding. And I'm like, what? Well, what do you mean? And she's like, maybe because of the accident, like maybe that can explain what's going on.
After the but after the accident, didn't you get examined by paramedics?
Well, well, no, I actually did not.
You didn't go to the hospital.
Not immediately, no, because again, I felt I was able to function fine, but like,
Oh my god.
I'm pretty sure, looking back, Jet, I'm darn sure I got a concussion. Like,
Oh no,
I mean, because
It
like
just
again,
sounds-
like all my behavior, like I walked 15 miles in Fargo to Moorhead like one night, and I thought that was normal. Like looking back,
No,
that
that's
was
normal.
not.
That's. I'm sorry, I'm a pacer. I just have to defend that for a second. Walking 15 miles from one town to the other is normal.
But no, that's only normal for you. Okay.
No, yeah, okay.
Okay. But anyway, so like I'm at this cabin, Detroit Lakes, Minnesota, with one of my closest friends. I'm saying a lot of terrible stuff. I know my friend doesn't know how to handle it. And I'm like, Eric, I think I'm pretty sure my brain is bleeding. And he's like, Benzie, like I don't know, like and he's like, Benzie, you don't have insurance, like that could cost like thousands of dollars or something.
Yeah.
So there was that. So I wasn't gonna leave. So
Here comes
that
Ken.
night I don't sleep again. I don't know. We're on day 9, day 10 where I'm not sleeping. And I'm talking to my mom and I'm just letting her have it. Because again, I mean, looking back, I was just super mentally ill. I was just letting her have it. And then I realized, oh my gosh, I really am sick. I got to go to the hospital. But the thing is, because of my conversation with Eric, like for some reason in that moment, like I didn't go straight to him. My inclination was to just start running. So I got out. I just opened the door. Mind you, Detroit Lakes in December. Detroit Lakes is in Minnesota. Like I don't think you've been to Minnesota in the winter, but it's terribly cold. So we're talking -20, -30 Detroit Lakes in December. Like, and I don't even wear I didn't even wear gloves. I didn't wear a hat. I just start sprinting. So I'm just sprinting as hard as I've ever sprinted in my life down this road in Detroit Lakes. So 1 mile goes by, 2 miles, 3 miles, 4 miles, 5 miles, 6 miles. I look around. I'm like, I'm not getting anywhere. Like, I don't know where I am. And to be honest, I'm pretty sure we were like half an hour away. We were a ways away because it was a cabin, or like a cabin type house.
That's like a half-hour drive away too, right?
Yeah, or maybe a 20-minute drive. Who knows? But like, anyways.
Still, I mean, no amount of time sprinting is going to get you to where you need to be.
Yeah, but obviously I'm not in a good spot mentally, but because
What did your friend say about all this? I mean, did he stop you?
Bro, it was like 4 in the morning, 3 in the morning. Like,
Oh, so he's asleep.
yeah, so my thing was, my mind in that moment was like, dude, I got to escape. Because again, my thought was like, you know what, he didn't want to take me, so like I don't want to bother him, whatever, you know. So I'm sprinting. Here's the thing, I'm not wearing gloves. 20 minutes in, 30 minutes in, like I'm in a bad spot. You know, I realized like real bad spot, and I realized, you know what, I'm getting real cold. So like I started knocking on doors. But it's Detroit Lakes. This is a resort town. Like a lot of people are probably gone because
so these are all vacation homes. You're not going to find anyone who's like going to be there. Unlikely.
Exactly.
Okay.
but my life is at stake, and I don't even realize it. So
you
I'm
gotta
knocking on doors, and one after another, no one's picking up yet. So I'm like, oh gosh. And then finally, after like 10 minutes of that, I I knock on a door. A guy answers, and I raise my hands and I'm like, please call the police. Just call the police. And I go in, and I'm manic, man. And again, like, I didn't realize that at the time, but I am bipolar, and that was the first sign. Like, I'm talking and talking and talking and talking, and this guy's like, we've got some kids, like, please, you gotta, like, quiet down. And I'm like, oh, sorry. And then the police come, they take me to the hospital, and finally I see Eric the next morning. Then they transfer me to Fargo, and they transfer me to a mental health hospital. And I got there, and as you can tell, I never made it to Coffeyville.
Oh, no. So once again, your mental health has taken precedent to your dreams of being a broadcaster.
Well, I mean, so what happened was, like, so...
It's
like,
not a
I
judgment
got
call, by the way. I'm just saying that's what it should be. But, like, once again, your dreams are dashed, unfortunately.
I mean, so, like, I was there a couple days. So I was there a week. Just not... I mean, now I will say the hospital that I was at is a lot
Not
better
Red
than
Rock.
the first one. But, like, yeah, so I remember, like, 3 days in, I talked to, the guy in Coffeyville, and I'm like, hey, like, if you can just wait a couple days, I'm in a mental health hospital, like, I'll be out. And he's like, you know what, you said you're going to be here on Thursday. Like, we expected you to be here Thursday. You're not. We've moved on. I'm sorry.
Right.
But so I remember, like, just being crushed. I mean, you can remember how I felt that time, like, at that Peninsula game, and that
that
felt
was just for a volunteer spot. Then this was like a real opportunity.
Yeah. No, this was something I felt like I'd worked my whole life for, and so I eventually got out. And my mom, like, credit my mom, she flew from Costa Rica to she stayed with me. But so I got out of this
What does your
mental
mom do in
health.
Costa Rica?
Huh?
What is your mom doing in Costa Rica?
She was that's where they lived for a while.
Oh,
My
your parents
mom,
live in Costa Rica now.
No, wait. They lived. Remember, we're talking like 2016. It's been like 3 years, so like a lot has happened everywhere, man.
Yeah.
Remember, I'm married. Like you probably are wondering, like, how'd you get married?
Yeah, we don't even, like, we're now nearing 2 hours, and we haven't even mentioned your now wife.
Well, because we're not even close. Like,
oh man, that's got to be.
Skip over stuff.
You might have to start skipping over stuff. Unfortunately, I mean, I'm enjoying the story, but like, we have time constraints. So like, I want to hear like, okay, so maybe in less words, but the full story. So like, now we're on to like, you got denied your job in Coffeyville.
Yeah, so I had to find a new job.
Yeah, exactly.
So, like, I was homeless again.
I don't want you to skip over anything. I just meant to make that clear. But like,
so me and my
detail,
mom are living together. We're homeless. We're staying with friends. We're staying in hotels. This is a tough fight. I do have to mention this girl because this is a part of my life. Like I thought I was gonna marry her. Unfortunately, I said some crap I should not have, and she let me have it. And then she told me, this is important because if she listens, like, I want her to know that I remember. Like, she said, like, you have all these dreams and you never accomplish them. And I remember being like, okay, that's fine, but I never want to speak with you again. Goodbye. Boom. And that was the end. Because, like, I remember I was homeless, man. I'm living in a hotel. Like, you don't tell somebody who's broken, who's complete. And by the way, like, that's false. Like, even in that moment, and like, and even now, like, I've proven her wrong. So like, again,
don't
like,
kick. You're already down. You can stop kicking.
Yeah,
stop.
Yeah. So I felt like she was just kicking me when I'm down. And here's the thing, like, that's fine. Like, you might be right, like, but like, I'm a college grad. I've accomplished a lot. Like, boom. So,
But she
so I
probably
get
thought
this job.
probably thought she was giving you tough love. Like, so you do forgive her at this point, right? Of course.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
But
She wasn't doing it to hurt you. She
But
thought she
there's
was
a
doing you a
difference
favor.
between forgiving and forgetting. So like I
Okay.
remember it very well, and like I thank her for saying it because it lit a fire in my ass that has always been the one. And I'm always somebody who's super motivated. But anyways, so I moved to Millbank, South Dakota, town of like 3,000. It's the first job I got, and so I become the news director and play-by-play guy in Millbank. So me and my mom moved to Millbank, and I freaking hated it, Jet. It was terrible. All they had was a freaking Hardee's, and like, and like it's just not my type of place. I'm a Fargo guy, or like I even Tacoma or Gig Harbor has enough stuff for me. But like,
well, you're used to living in the city, is what you're trying to say.
yeah, I'm not a small town guy. Like,
Okay.
but so I moved there, and it went terribly. I got so here's the thing, like I wasn't completely fixed, like I still had bad stuff happen, and the suicidal thoughts weren't fixed. So like I was feeling suicidal after a game, and then the next day I was completely lost. I couldn't focus. I decided I wanted to kill myself. I went home. Mom took me to the hospital. I end up, so I'm in the hospital till 12, and then they're like, we don't have a mental health hospital here. So you know where they take me, Jet?
Where's that?
They took me to jail.
Oh no. So that's their
They
only
took me
recourse.
to jail.
Well, that was the only option, really, right?
Well, I was like, so that they took me there, they take me in, and I'm in a jail cell, and I don't know, I'm pretty sure you've never experienced this. I hope you never do, but I was like, I'm really in jail, and I started yelling. I was like, I'm in jail, because I mean I'm Alex Benzegala, Jet. Like I shouldn't be in jail from my perspective. I've never committed a crime.
Right. No. I mean, I've never been to jail, and it's hard for me to even. I think what you're trying to say is that you're a law-abiding person, so you never even envisioned a moment where you could be in jail.
Exactly, and especially like 4 hours ago, I was in a radio studio. So you go from speaking with your boss about, because we're right before the Super Bowl, by the way. So like I was gonna talk about the Super Bowl the next day. But like this is where those like suicidal thoughts can like literally like just screw everything up. So like so I'm in jail. Worst night of my life. I had to sing a song like to myself over and over again. I never slept. I mean, being in jail is the worst experience. Oh no, it's one of the worst.
That's hard to say at this point, really. So
I've been through a lot, so
Yes.
it's up there. It's up there.
it's in your top 10 worst moments.
Yeah, top five.
Let's go top 10.
But anyways, so eventually I get out of there. I'm not gonna tell you everything that went on in jail. That's too long. But like,
Right. I mean, we just watched the show Oz for that.
Nothing
Nothing like that happened. I just want to clarify. Nothing like that show happened, or Shawshank Redemption.
No,
You didn't meet an elderly, intelligent
No,
black
I
guy.
just drank some crappy coffee though. Worst coffee ever. Like
All
in
my
jail.
expectations of prison are just dashed. All right.
Okay.
Shitty
but
coffee,
I
that's
talk
the worst.
basketball with somebody in there. But anyway, so I get out of there. A cop drives me an hour and a half to Sioux Falls. You ever hear of Sioux Falls?
Yeah, it's in Iowa.
Gosh, you're an idiot. Sioux Falls is in South Dakota.
Same thing.
That's gosh, you've never. Man, I know the plains like the back
The
of my.
flyover states, as they call them.
All right, wait. I gotta. We've been on a darn near 2 hours. So,
Okay, so let's get going.
So
All right, 2 hours.
Sioux Falls. So I'm there for 3 weeks. Can't tell you the whole time because we could do a whole podcast about it.
Right.
I get out of there. My mom moves to China, man.
What does your mom do for a living?
My mom's a teacher, so like.
Well, how is she? Why is she? Is this part of her like dream to go to Costa Rica and China?
No. I mean, my mom. I can't. So my mom was living with my stepdad. Like, let's just say their relationship historically hasn't been that great. That's all I need to say there.
Okay.
And then like, so my stepdad's in Mexico taking care of his mother, and like my mom would never ever move to Mexico to be with his mother. Like, I mean, just for
Is it
I
the
can't
mother or
explain-
is it Mexico?
Huh?
Is it the mother or is it Mexico? Why doesn't she want to go?
Oh, the mother. It's the mother,
Okay.
and maybe Mexico. I don't know. I mean, that's a question for her, man. But like, anyways, like
I wouldn't
again, she
mind
had problems with with his mom. So my mom goes to Beijing, and man, I was hurt. And like, I remember I made a Trump joke. I was like, "This is what Trump was talking about our best going to China or something like that." Like. But anyways, like I was hurt by my mom going to China. Still kind of like it's tough, you know. That's far away as you can imagine. But um, so she flies me out to Mexico to be with my stepdad, and I'm manic, super manic. So like we're in this resort town. I'm literally talking to every person. So like I know you've probably never experienced what bipolar is, but when you're manic, sometimes there's this super high where like you feel super good, and that's what I was feeling. Like I was feeling super great.
I personally don't. I've never had bipolar. I'm not bipolar, but my brother very much is. So he's described it as like, so my emotional range is somewhere between 4 to 8. His emotional range is not 1 through 10. It's 1 or 10. So he's had moments in his life where he just cries because he thinks the world's so beautiful, and he loves it. And then, of course, he's had moments where he cries from like because everything's tragic. But
yeah, well, I think what happened with me in that moment, we're still talking 2016. I haven't had this in a while, but I was like, man, I'm gonna be the president of the United States. If Donald Trump can be president, I'm gonna be president because I'm so much like all that crap. And looking back at it, it's like, no,
you wanted to be president?
No, I don't actually want that. I want to be a sports broadcaster, but I don't know.
You're saying if Donald Trump can become president, then you can become a sportscaster.
No, I can become president. I'm talking about this is.
You really were thinking that you could have became president at one point.
No, in that moment,
I am confused.
Absolutely.
Yes. Okay. So yes, in this moment, you thought to yourself, "Well, I can do it."
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. Like, well, I thought I could. I was going through a high mania.
Yes,
so
I understand. Yes.
I thought I could be like a professional speaker. I wasn't even thinking about what I really am as a broadcaster, you know. But like, I was thinking about all these things, and then like I met my future wife, and like we've talked. So you
met your wife in Mexico.
Yes, I did. I always lie to people. I always say like
you lie.
I was on vacation. Like I was not on vacation, Jet. I was mentally ill, and like and I lost my job twice, and like my mom.
So is your wife Mexican?
Oh, of course, yeah.
She lives in here now.
No, she's not. Like we're working on that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Well,
so
okay.
which
Well,
is another challenge.
Oh,
so,
you know what? We have something to discuss for our next podcast then, because that's actually interesting.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah, sure.
All right,
but anyways, like, so I met her. I didn't like her at first. In terms of my girlfriend, like, no, I don't mean that. I was, because again, like, my thought was still about this girl. Like, I remember thinking, like, man, maybe she was right. Maybe she's right that like I have these dreams and I don't do anything. Cause think about it, like you're in East Watan, Mexico, a town of 5,000 in southern Mexico. You have no like job, you have no goals, like you don't. Oh, I mean I had goals, but like I really had like in that moment I'm like, you know what, maybe she's right, like. And so what happened was I went from that mania to that depression, and that's what happens a lot in bipolar, you know, and that's what happened to me in that moment. So me and my future wife start talking, and you know we become friends, and like I start to realize, you know, hey, I kind of like her, but I was like, you know, I got to get out of here. I'm living with my stepdad. Like
you get along with your stepdad?
What's that?
Do you get along with your stepdad?
No.
No?
I mean, like, we haven't talked in a long time. I mean, we haven't really talked since my wedding. I mean, there's a deep reason why. I mean, I can't, again,
yeah,
I
we're not going to get into that, but, like, I was just curious, like, if
no, we don't. I mean, like, you know, I love him, but...
Yeah, he helped raise you, but, like, you don't guys on the best terms. I got it.
No. Yeah. So like I love him as my stepdad, but yeah, we've got beef or problems that we haven't fixed. So that's just the truth. And so here's the thing. So me and my girlfriend we start dating for a week, and then I look for jobs in Fargo because my car is there. I move to Fargo. I fly out to Fargo, leave my girlfriend after dating for a week, dude. So like I get a job at a crappy daycare in Fargo. I don't know if it's still around. I'm at this daycare and I am miserable. And those suicidal thoughts are hitting me hard because I was homeless and I was trying to find another place to live, and I found a place for $200 a month. I think it was a crack house, maybe a meth house. I don't know. I'm not into that. But I was like, this is awful. So I'm depressed. I moved to Kansas City. Okay, I moved to Kansas City because I got a job at a Christian boarding school. So that's a new chapter. So I do that. Fast forward to July. I was like, you know what? I like broadcasting. I became the first or the first voice of Lincoln College Prep in Kansas City, a really historic school there. Met a great friend who helped me out with that. So I did that. And then again, me and my girlfriend like are continuing our relationship. And then so the season ends. Suicidal thoughts came back at this place. I got assaulted by a kid. Like a kid assaulted me with like a wood chip, like a big wood chip.
A wood chip.
Like, yeah, no, like or a piece of wood. Like
like a 2x4.
Yeah, I mean not that big, but like maybe like 4 or 5 inches, like, and was just scratching me with it, and it brought up like trauma.
He just attacked you.
Yeah, I got attacked.
Was he high on drugs?
No, dude, like we're talking at a boarding school. I mean, like all that stuff is like forbidden. Obviously, we're not gonna let our kids do drugs.
Well, you're not gonna let anyone do anything. I understand that, but like, why would this kid attack you?
Because, man, like it's working at. You've obviously never worked with at-risk youth, because I mean, you could piss them off. Like by what happened that day was like I forgot what I said, but I was like, no, like you can't get a cup of milk or something. I can't remember exactly what it was.
So when you're saying kid, you mean like how young?
15, 14, 13, like.
Okay, well.
So again, like if you know teens, they like can be aggressive. You know that, like.
Oh, absolutely.
And I was like that. So that's what happened. Like he stabbed me, and another kid, like, oh no, he was just attacking me with it.
This does seem extreme, but you're right. I don't actually work with kids, so.
Oh man, bro, like.
So I mean, in my personal perspective, like that seems like an absurd sort of story. I mean, usually when I hear of attacks, there's usually someone at fault, or there's drugs, or there's something.
No,
so this guy
man.
you just said you can't have an extra milk, and he attacked you.
Oh, I don't remember.
Well, no,
exactly.
that's not the specific thing, but like it's something that minor, and they just launched into.
No, like first off, I mean
Yeah, you're right. I haven't actually experienced
again, like
yeah.
that wasn't even the worst thing that. Oh yeah, that probably.
That's
was.
not the worst thing.
I got hit in the face with a cup once, and it like got my eye swollen. Like again, like. Not my type of environment. And like, and here's the thing: anybody out there who's worked with at-risk youth, I promise you, Jet, they get it. Like, but either way, like I'm the wrong person for that to happen to because of what I've been through and like all the childhood trauma and all the adult trauma I've been through. So.
And I will admit to ignorance on that one. You're right. I have never had to work around at-risk youth, so I don't know how aggressive they can be.
Yeah. So. But like if you do, you'll realize. So like, but like they're also great kids. So I want to say that. But so anyways, so like that sent me to a spiral. The mania came back. Stopped sleeping. And long story short, wanted to kill myself again. And like they transferred me to a mental health hospital in Kansas City. Was there. They fired me at this job, well, not fired me. That's not the right word. Like, it was a great place to work, by the way. They helped me, like, with my car and everything. So I don't want to say they fired me. They kind of were basically like, sorry, you can't work here. So I basically was homeless again, and like I didn't know what to do. So, but
Yeah.
this time I had just got done with my third football season, so it's not like 3 years before, KJHP where like I have no good tape. My skills are better. I'm a better play-by-play guy.
Mm-hmm.
At this point, I'm like, I got to go for it. So the only job I applied for was news sports director in Fort Dodge, Iowa. And, like even though I had no real news experience, they took a chance on me. I got the job, got an apartment, no more homelessness. And Fort Dodge, Iowa was one of the most special places in my life. Like until the day I die, Jet, I will be a proud supporter and lover of the town of Fort Dodge, Iowa, because they gave me a chance, they embraced me, they loved me. I still have great friends there. I'm a big fan of Fort Dodge football and athletics, and I'll follow them forever, And I became the voice of the Dodgers, and I was on 7 radio stations every day. And yeah, like I still struggle with my depression, but I had a therapist, a psychiatrist. Never was in a mental health hospital when I was in Fort Dodge, and so I loved Fort Dodge. Again, 7 stations in I think 8 different states, and like so it was really cool. I could walk anywhere in Fort Dodge, and people would be like, "That's Alex Benzegala," and that was kind of a cool feeling. And I'd never experienced that really before, like where people would be like, "Dear Mama." That's my my catchphrase that I made up 4 or 5 years ago.
You got your only holy mackerel. Yeah, your very own.
Or holy catfish or
Or
something.
holy catfish.
But yeah, no, I got Dear Mama, and I got married, December's, which was great. And then here I am, sports director in Fargo, North Dakota for AM 1100 The Flag. Remember Steve Hallstrom? We talked about him. Like I met him when we were at Discovery. Like he's my boss. Like and it's funny because like honestly, man, like I feel like I got rejected by them like 3, 4, maybe 5 times, and like
but it always takes 6 times.
But now I'm in a special spot. I mean, I still got a lot of challenges.
Oh, no doubt.
And I know this. The last 2 months have been hard for me.
I know.
But I'm covering the NDSU Bison, North Dakota State Bison. They've won the FCS football championship 7, I believe, of the last 8 or 9. And I'm covering their game at Target Field next Saturday. So that's really special. I've gone through a lot, Jet, but I'm pretty blessed. Not many people can say like that they're a professional sports broadcaster. And I know you and I like would speak about this in high school. I remember you and I talking, man, and we'd be like, man, we're both going to be broadcasters. And it's a hard road, like not everybody like can or like would like to be a professional sports broadcaster. I mean, one thing I didn't realize when we were in high school, you don't get paid that much early on, and like it's a hard job just because a lot of people want to do it, and if you want a job in it, sometimes you have to start in a place like where I did, Millbank, and I had a tough road. Very few people are willing to be volunteer broadcasters for as long as I did.
No, I think that's actually something I respect a great amount because you're right. We did say back in high school that we're both going to make it. We're both going to be broadcasters one day. And here we are. I gave up on that dream a long time ago. Now, I still have a love for open, honest conversations with people, interviewing and broadcasting in general, which is why I do this podcast. But it's a hobby for me, and you still managed to make it into a career, so that's amazing.
And I think for me, like, to be honest, I remember I always thought you had a better shot. I mean, you don't stutter. I still am bitter that your senior year you won the state title for sports broadcasting. And I want to make this point. I mean, you won that. I remember that. I just remember being upset. Like, man, I couldn't even guess second.
Yeah.
But
It's it is actually something I like to look back on fondly, and it does spur me forward into this idea of hosting my own podcast. But it's still like, I mean, you had to go through an awful lot to achieve your dream. And like, you're right. You're absolutely right. It's not set in stone. This is it. Like, you still have a long road to go, and who knows? I want to be talking to you again 5 or 10 years in the future where you get your first job at ESPN. I mean, I don't know if that's your goal or not. I'm not saying that, but like, it would be amazing to see do another sort of recap podcast in the future and find out just how far you've gone from this point.
No, yeah, I appreciate that a lot, Jet. But I think for me, like, there's always and one thing that I learned this in high school, like, there's kind of this just really true love of broadcasting. Like, I mean, it's just super special to look back at the memories and just all the fun games and all the great athletes and all the special moments. I mean, that's one thing I loved about Fort Dodge is, I was able to broadcast a really special game where Fort Dodge trailed 21-3 in the fourth quarter, and they somehow pulled it out and won the game 22-21 on a game-winning touchdown at the end of regulation. And like, if you imagine my excitement in that moment, like.
Well, it's amazing to me that you can recall the play and you can recall the time on the clock or the score of the game so many years after the effect.
Isn't it weird that I remember random things? Like,
No. It's incredible. Like, my brother, for instance, he's an incredible person with statistics. I mean, I remember growing up when we were kids, he collected baseball cards. And I did too, but he was a freak of nature when it came to reciting off baseball statistics. Like, I can give him any player, any stat, any year, and off the top of his head, oh yeah, Jose Canseco hit 46 home runs in 1998. I know that.
That's absolutely incredible.
No, he's got an amazing memory for that sort of thing. So I do respect people like that. For me, it's not that way, but I have the same love of broadcasting that you do. And actually, there was so much more I wanted to talk about in this podcast. Unfortunately, we're not going to get around to it today, so we'll have to do another one. If I had known that this was going to be your how long the story was, I would have. This is like 5 podcasts worth of material. Like, each little chapter of your life could have been broken down into an hour-long podcast discussion. Like, we could have done that. That would have been, and maybe we still will. Maybe we still will dissect each of these chapters more in depth and ideas more in depth.
Well, I think it's one of those things. I think the problem is that, like, we haven't actually had a conversation in like 5 years. And even that year on my 21st, like, we didn't really to delve into much, and so much has happened since then even. Yeah. So like,
no, that night was about drinking. Let's make that very clear.
and women.
Maybe for you. Well, Benzie, I really do appreciate the fact that you came on to my show. I am really pleased if you find this podcast, you can post it up on your website or whatever. Do you have a Twitter? Do you have any way of reaching you?
So, can you put it on Facebook or like?
Well, I normally post all these on YouTube. That's our main platform. But in the near future, I hope to branch out to iTunes and Spotify. But if there's a way I can post it on Facebook, I'll post it on Facebook.
All right, sounds good. And then I'll find it on YouTube too.
Of course. Well, Benzie, is there anything else you'd like to say before we end this?
No, I just wish you luck on everything. And one thing I feel like we did talk about in high school is girls once in a while. And man, like, it's kind of funny looking back, man. Like, it's been 11 years now. You're engaged, I'm married, and I remember there was a point in time in our lives where we're like, I don't know if that's gonna happen.
If you want to make it more funny than that, we're both marrying foreign girls.
Really? You're married a foreign girl too? What?
Yeah, that's why I brought it up. I thought that's actually interesting. That's a whole podcast just there.
Oh, I gotta ask, where's your fiance from?
She's from Venezuela.
Yes. So wait. This really got me excited. Like, that means, like, because I married a Mexican woman, you married a Venezuelan. Will we be able to speak in Spanish? We can do a.
You
Spanish
already speak
podcast.
Spanish, don't you?
Yeah, I do. But then if you speak Spanish, then we can both speak Spanish.
My Spanish is improving. Estoy aún aprendiendo, but pero necesito más practicar.
That's actually not bad. That's not bad.
Thank you. But I've told her a lot of times that I can speak it okay, I can read it good, I can write it good, but my biggest difficulty is listening to it. I mean, people talk so fast. I try to pick out key words and try to decipher what they're saying.
Yeah. Well, it's great to speak to you, and I hope to speak to you again.
Oh yeah, we'll definitely do it. All right. So for Tina and Karen do the tube, I am Karen, and have a good week, everyone. Thank you, Benzie. Bye.
Yeah, thanks. Bye.